all about the fun. Tryna be the one, not another bum. So, fantasy football tips. Probably win one, maybe 2 or 3 ships. Oops, I meant hun. Eli is the one. Tyler makes the sum. Belosky and it's done. Woo!
This is the Tyler and Eli Fantasy Football Tips Podcast, Season 3, Episode 44. I am your host, Tyler Belosky.
I'm your other host, Eli Belosky.
And Eli, we had our first preseason NFL football game earlier this week. Thursday night, Hall of Fame game. Ravens-Browns. Football is back, baby. Football is back.
Yeah, that was a good game. Didn't see the final score, but it doesn't really mean anything. Just entertainment, really.
Yeah, it's football. The Hall of Fame game usually means nothing. Just the starters will play 1 or 2 snaps, and that's about it. Get them in, get them out. But yeah, Lamar Jackson had a pretty good touchdown, I believe, and Hayden Hurst had a touchdown. Robert Griffin III looked pretty good for the Ravens. He's not going to make the team, though. I think they're just going to cut him. And Anthony Miller looked pretty good. So, yeah. Preseason, football is back. Football every weekend now until the Super Bowl. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. I can't wait for the regular season to start.
Yeah, it's a month to go or so.
Yeah, just about.
I'm ready to go. All right, we're going to jump right into our 9s. It's news, info, notes, entertainment, stats. First one up, Eli, is Elijah McGuire from the Jets, broken foot.
That's not really going to do much fantasy-wise, but for the Jets, that's losing their number 3 backup. But, not really much there. Yeah,
there really isn't. I mean, you take him for a deep bench player, maybe a best ball, but I'm not really worried about him. Just something to look into. Now you get more chances to pick up Isaiah Crowell as your starter for the Jets.
Yeah, and same with Bilal Powell. If you want to take him as your handcuff, that wouldn't be a bad choice. Just have them both on your bench.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yep.
For sure.
All right, number 2, Doug Baldwin, wide receiver for the Seattle Seahawks. He's going through some leg issues. He's mostly going to be out for the rest of the preseason, which is not a big deal. He's been there for 5, 6, 7, 8 years now. He knows Russell Wilson, and Russell Wilson knows him. So nothing to be too concerned about other than if it's a season-long issue, then that may play into where you draft him.
Yeah. I don't really think it's going to be a big problem, but, it definitely will have an impact on the way he plays week 1, 2, 3.
Definitely.
For sure.
Yep. Definitely. As long as he doesn't re-injure it, or if he heals it properly, he should be good to go. Number 3, wide receiver Jordan Matthews was cut by the Patriots. Not surprising. I think they just brought him in for a body. I think he got hurt too, so they just cut him, saved some money. He wasn't going to do a whole lot anyways. He had the first 4 games. Julian Edelman's out, but I'm not even worried about drafting him. Maybe in best ball or super deep leagues. There's nothing really else to talk about with that. However, they did sign wide receiver Eric Decker to a 1-year contract, which is probably going to only last the first 4 games because he's kind of like Julian Edelman. He's going to go across the middle, get those PPR points for you. But I wouldn't do anything after week 4 with Eric Decker.
Definitely not. I mean, I'm not even touching him on the free agent pool. Definitely not drafting him.
Yeah, I'm not drafting.
Except for like deep leagues.
Yeah,
even then, I'm not going to draft him.
Yeah, I'm not going to draft him either. If he starts going off week 2, maybe look at him for week 3. But he's just a body until Edelman comes back, I think.
Definitely.
And last, Stephon Diggs from the Vikings. He signed a long-term contract with them, so he's there for the next 5, 6 years. He's still the number 2. You're going to draft him as your number 2. Maybe flex, depends on how you draft. He's not going to be bad for you.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, definitely look for him.
Got new Kirk Cousins coming in there. They're gonna produce pretty well. I think they'll be number 1 in the NFC North. But we might get to that later in the season. Yeah,
we should have our Super Bowl division picks and all that stuff by the end of August if everything goes well. All right, Eli, that's our 9s, news, information, notes, entertainment, stats. Pretty quick tonight. There's only 5 of them. And let's get right to the main part of the show. It's the wide receiver rankings, Eli. We're going to have 2 candy bar bets, and when we get there, we'll let you know how that goes. World famous candy bar bets. The first one is going to be right around the corner. Eli, number 1, who do you have at wide receiver?
For wide receiver 1, I have Antonio Brown. Obviously, he's going to be your number 1. If someone drafts like OBJ or DeAndre Hopkins above Antonio Brown, then if you draft right, you will win your league, because that is not a good pick. He's going to be the number 1 for a while until he starts going down and younger players start rising up. I think he's just so consistent, and he rarely gets injured. And he's got Big Ben throwing to him. The targets in Pittsburgh haven't done much to him yet, at least. With only really Juju there, with Martavis Bryant going to the Raiders. So
Yeah, I think the only thing that's going to slow him down is Big Ben. When Big Ben's not playing, he doesn't really produce. So
with Landry Jones last year, he wasn't too terrible.
Exactly. So hopefully Mason Rudolph, the rookie quarterback they drafted this year, will be the next Big Ben, if not better, for AB. But as soon as Big Ben leaves, I think AB will slightly go downhill. I also have AB, Antonio Brown, at number 1. Everything Eli just said is correct. He's a PPR machine. He's a touchdown machine. He'll get you your yards. I can see, however, how some people would want to take Hopkins over Brown, because Hopkins is the new Antonio Brown. If they do that, it's not a bad choice. I think this year OBJ over Hopkins or AB is a little high, drafting wise. Actually, I have OBJ number 2, but I could see Hopkins going over both of them. I wouldn't draft OBJ over AB, but
no.
Number 2, we just said it. Odell Beckham Jr. I mean, he's a stud. He was hurt all last year for the most part, unfortunately. But I have him at number 2. He's
3-13.
Yep, 3-13. This year they're gonna be 13-3.
Yeah.
But
yeah, actually they will have a good year.
This year I could see him going over 100 plus catches, maybe 1,500 plus yards, and I'm gonna say 12 to 15 touchdowns.
Definitely, he's like, he's not the only wide receiver in the Giants, and they got rookie running back Saquon Barkley that can catch out of the backfield. But I still think he's going to get, obviously, the majority of the catches and targets. So he's going to get 12 to 15 touchdowns, like you said.
Exactly, and they got a new offensive line there, and Eli Manning is still playing not maybe his best ball, but it's kind of hard to throw the ball when you're on your back. So they upgraded the offensive line. They have a running back now, which will open up the passing game with a multi-threat Barkley in there who can run and catch. It's going to the Giants are going to just completely do a 180 from last year. And,
I hope so.
Yeah, I really do too. Not just because I'm a Giants fan, just because I think the NFL needs that. Really, it's ugly to watch them Sunday afternoon when they're fumbling and throwing picks, and the game's already 27-0 by halftime. No one wants to see that. All right, so you have.
Well, then why do people watch Browns games?
Well, because they live in Cleveland and they're forced to.
Yeah, that's true.
Or they play the Bills in Buffalo, and you have to watch the Bills. All right, so our first world famous candy bar bet, Eli, is you like the Steelers and Antonio Brown. I like the Giants and OBJ. So we're going to do that. Most fancy points between those two will win a candy bar. Sounds good?
Yeah, I got AB. As we said earlier, he's so consistent. OBJ, a little injury prone, but, I don't expect him to get injured again this year.
Yeah. All right, so number 3 on my rankings, I have Michael Thomas out of New Orleans. I really like him this year. I know I don't have Hopkins at 3. Oh my goodness. No, I have Michael Thomas. I think this will be a huge breakout season, even more from the previous years. They have Cameron Meredith and Ted Ginn. The running game is just blowing up, so it's going to help the passing game. Yeah, Drew Brees is slowing down a little bit, but that's just because the running game is going up. So I think, however, they're going to turn that around now that Ingram's going to be out for the first 4 games. I just really like Michael Thomas this year. If I can draft him late first round, I'm taking him. I'll take him over the rest of the people on this list that I have.
Well, definitely. I have DeAndre Hopkins at number 3. We kind of touched on him a little, but I think with Deshaun Watson coming back after the injury, I think the Texans are going to have definitely a bounce back year from last year. I just really hope no one in Houston gets injured, at least on the offensive side. Defense won't do too much. I mean, it might keep them on the field longer, but it won't really do much. But I think Hopkins will definitely finish as a top 5 wide receiver, probably top 3 wide receiver. He's just got Deshaun Watson throwing bombs to him, and the only competition is Will Fuller because they don't have a good number 1 tight end. They just have like a no name there. So I think DeAndre Hopkins is definitely going to finish as a top 3 wide receiver this year.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I have him at 4, and just like you said, he's got a great quarterback coming back. He can catch that tough pass in coverage, double team, triple coverage. Watson can put it right there, thread that needle. He's definitely an explosive player. He can go up and get the ball. He has great one-handed catches. He is a great top 3, top 4 wide receiver this year. Yeah, I think you touched on him. I have him at 4. Eli, who do you have at 4?
4, I have Michael Thomas. Don't really need to touch on him too much more.
Okay, and I think this is where we're going to go with our second world-famous candy bar bet. We got those up and out of the way. I'm going to take Michael Thomas from the Saints. Eli is going to take DeAndre Hopkins. And whoever gets the most fantasy points will win another candy bar.
Yeah.
And I'm going to have 2 candy bars this year at least.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. All right. Number 5, Eli. Who do you have at 5?
Number 5, I have Julio Jones.
Ooh, Julio.
And I know you have him a little bit lower, but I think he's not gonna have a great bounce back year, but it's definitely good. I mean, he can't get worse than last year.
Yeah, 3 touchdowns is pretty weak.
Yeah, especially from a number 1 receiver.
Yeah.
They were just not in sync with anything. The running game wasn't that great either, too. So it's not like they were all focused on the running game. Mm-hmm. It was just they weren't producing. They weren't doing anything. But I think Julio Jones is gonna have a great bounce back year. They did bring in a rookie wide receiver, Calvin Ridley. But he's not going to do much. He's probably going to be the number 2 by their bye week. I think that he'll just have a great bounce back year with Matt Ryan throwing to him. I really hope he gets more than 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I think
he didn't have his first touchdown until like mid-season, which was very disappointing.
Yeah, but he did have that one game where he went off for like 300 yards. I'm just joking around with that. This is pretty funny. You didn't say that. Sorry. It's just funny. I wrote down on a piece of paper when Eli said rookie. It sounded like he said Wookiee. So I was thinking Chewbacca. But anyways, so yeah, he had that big 300-yard game, record-setting game. For me, I have him down at 8. A lot of that's going off for last year. I do hope he does bounce back. Yeah, I mean, he is a great, talented young receiver. He's
just not consistent. Yeah, that's why we have him lower.
Yeah, he can definitely fly down the field. I know they're starting to get him more looks and passes into the red zone. If he turns it around, then shame on me for having him down at 8. I mean, he's still a number 1 wide receiver. You're still taking him late first, early second round. That's where he's fallen. He's fallen late early second round. So, he's definitely number 1.
I'd take Saquon Barkley over him.
You take Saquon over Julio. Yeah,
definitely.
If you play it right, you may be able to get both.
Yeah, that's
you get Barkley in the first and then Julio on the 4th round.
Yeah, like the 10th, 11th, 12th pick.
Yep.
You could definitely get.
Yeah, Barkley's going right around 9, 10. So yeah, you could definitely get that flip. Number 5, I have Keenan Allen, San Diego Chargers. He came back strong last year from his ACL injury. He is a machine out there in Los Angeles. I don't know if I just said San Diego, but Los Angeles.
Los Angeles, yeah.
And he's really the only target they have out there. They have the 2 Williams kids. They have Melvin Gordon coming out of the backfield. But Phillip Rivers teams up with Allen like there's no tomorrow. I think he's just going to continue to do what he did last year, put up those huge numbers, put up those huge fantasy point games for you, 19, 23, anywhere from 19 to 23 points a week should be pretty good for you. Obviously, you get him in the first round. Late
Definitely.
first round, early second. I mean, if you team
Yeah.
up with him and Julio, you can't really go wrong.
Yeah,
or
definitely.
Barkley and Allen, or
Yeah.
Thomas and Allen.
Yeah, definitely. I have Keenan Allen at 6. You touched on him pretty good. Don't really need to say anything more.
All right.
Who do you have at number 7?
Well, who do you have at 5?
Julio Jones.
Oh, okay then. I didn't check that out. All right, so number 6. You were at number 6. I have Michael Irving out of Tampa Bay. Not Michael Irving. Wow, Mike Evans out of Tampa Bay. Yeah, Winston's serving 2-game suspension, 3-game suspension, whatever it is. So he may see some cuts at targets from Ryan Fitzpatrick, but I think he'll turn that around once Winston comes back. He is a deep threat for them. He's just continually getting better every year. Even if his numbers don't say it, he's becoming a better route runner. He's becoming to be a more reliable number 1.
He's way faster.
He's faster. He's got a good head on his shoulders. He's not a headache like some of these receivers. You can get him.
Cough, cough, Josh Gordon.
Yep. So he'll go late first round, early second round also. Just put him in as your number 1 wide receiver and you'll be ready to go.
Yeah, definitely. I have Mike Evans at 7. So basically we're just going back and forth here. I have AJ Green at 8. He's got Andy Dalton.
Wait, what did we skip 7?
What? No.
Oh, you skipped
Mike
6.
Evans.
Okay, I see what you did. Okay, so we're all are done at 8.
Okay.
So let's just quickly recap. Number 1, we both have AB. 2, we have OBJ. 3, I have Michael Thomas. You have Hopkins. 4,
Yeah.
I have Hopkins. You have Thomas. 5, you have
Jones.
Julio. I have Keenan Allen. 6, I have Mike Evans.
I have Keenan Allen.
7, I have AJ Green.
And 7, I have Mike Evans.
Okay, so now we're at 8. Sorry about that, guys.
Okay,
All right,
AJ
so 8.
Green. He's gonna produce pretty well. He's got Andy Dalton throwing in the ball. Only big threats will be like John Ross and Tyler Eifert. But other than that, Tyler Eifert is pretty inconsistent. He's not gonna be a top 10 tight end like he has been the past couple years. I think AJ Green will definitely finish as a top 10 wide receiver this year.
Definitely. Yeah, they just cut Brandon LaFell, too, so there goes another target out of there. I have Green at 7, pretty much for the same reason. Him and Dalton tag team really well together. He doesn't really get hurt that much. He's very consistent. He's one of those receivers that you could easily forget about because he just is so consistent, and he plays for the Bengals. So steal him in the mid-second round, and you'll be good to go. Number 8, I have Julio Jones. We did touch on him a little bit. I'm just basing it off of last year, and I really hope he does turn it around this year because fantasy football really needs him to do that.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so number 8, you have AJ Green. We just talked about. Number 9, I have Golden Tate out of the Detroit Lions system. I love Golden Tate this year. Not too much.
He's the number 2.
He's number 1 in Detroit now. Marvin Jones is 2. Yeah, he's 1. Jones is 2. They flip back and forth, kind of like Thielen and Diggs. But yeah, he's the true number 1 there in Detroit. They really aren't consistently good in the running game right now. They did draft Kerryon Johnson to hopefully buffer that out. But Golden Tate, he's tall, he's fast. He hits the long ball. I actually wrote an article between him and Marvin Jones on acrossthefantasypond.com, so check that out. It'll tell you everything I'm telling you now, just a little bit more stat based. I love Tate. He's tall again. Him and Matthew Stafford team up this year. He is consistent. He's good.
Okay, so you're saying you would take Golden Tate
Yes,
as your number 1 wide receiver?
I would take him as my number 1. If I went running back, he'd be my number 1 wide receiver. And we just lost Eli. Yeah.
Okay, that's just crazy.
No,
I
because
have him as a flex.
Oh,
He
no
is
way.
not going to be a number 1 this year.
why?
That is a way over. That's just.
Where do you have him ranked?
I have him at 26.
26. Woo!
That may
That's
be a little
low.
too low, but
No, but why? Why do you have him at 26?
he's not consistent. I mean, he lost Eric Ebron, which is good for him. But there's Marvin Jones. There's a million other guys that Matthew Stafford wants to try to get throw to them.
Kenny Galloway and
Yeah,
Hayden
Kenny
McGregor.
Galladay.
Yep. Running backs.
No,
Yep.
yeah, all the running backs there. What they have like 10. They're the 2017 New York Giants
Mhm.
in the running game.
Yep.
But he's just not gonna be a number 1 wide receiver. He doesn't have the greatest quarterback in the world. He's not gonna be a number 1. He might be he's like a strong 2. He's like a okay 2 solid flex.
Yeah.
For me, he's not a number 1 at all.
Here's my thing though, Eli. Excuse me. They all make you're making some really good points. For me though, I'm taking him as my number 1 wide receiver if I go running back. So if I go
Okay, yeah,
Bell and Howard, he's sitting there at number 1, and I'm going to take him over Jarvis Landry, Allen
Yeah.
Robinson, Devontae Thomas, Demarius Thomas. So yes, he would be my number 1. If I went with receiver, then he would be my number 2, possibly my flex. All depends on how I'm drafting. But for me,
that makes sense.
he would be
Yeah,
my number 1.
Okay.
If obviously he's not going to be my number 1 because I'm not going to take him in my first round. That'd be a waste of a first round pick. But
Well,
if I
yeah.
went running back, he is a solid number 1 receiver for me because then I can team him up with say Juju or team him up with
like a Jarvis Landry.
Jarvis
type
Landry,
guy,
yeah,
Like Adam
yeah.
Thielen.
Yep. So yeah, so
Okay.
but no, you make completely sense too because if you go receiver, then your next pick's going to be a running back or
Yeah,
so then he would be that flex
it all
for you.
depends
Yes.
on how you draft.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I do have him. I have him at 9, so he's right around that wide receiver 1. Give him a couple spots.
Yeah,
Who do you have at
definitely.
9?
I have T.Y. Hilton at 9.
I have him at 20. I have him at 25.
Oh wow, that
Yeah. No, we lost Eli again.
okay.
You start and I'll finish.
Okay, I can see why.
Catch your breath.
Okay.
Catch your breath.
Okay. So Andrew Luck has been injured for the past at least 1 year.
Yep.
I could see why you have him at 25.
25.
But the same thing with Golden Tate. Like that's just a little too high for me. Maybe like around the 20s would make like low 20s, high teens. But that's just like T.Y. Hilton is going to be a beast this year. He's got Andrew Luck coming back mid-season probably.
Well, he's supposed to
If
go week
not-
1. He's supposed to be
if
week
not-
1.
Yeah,
Yep.
if not week 1. And even if he's not back week 1, he's still got Jacoby Brissett who can thumbs down.
Thumbs
Wow.
down on Jacoby Brissett. But anyways, continue.
Jacoby Brissett is a total underrated player.
I will give you that. He is very underrated. And it was his first season in Indianapolis, so he had to learn the playbook. So he could turn it around this year if he had to jump back. Here's the thing, Eli. For me, it's all about Andrew Luck. If he can come back and produce like he did 2 years ago when he played, yes, T.Y. Hilton will vault right up to top 10 for me. If he doesn't come back, then he's useless. All the Colts will be useless. And I think we said it on our player breakdown at the start of the season. The Colts revolve around Andrew Luck. No luck equals no luck for fantasy football relevance for Indianapolis. If luck is there, then sign me up for Hilton, sign me up for Jack Doyle, Eric Ebron, and whatever running back they pick, Marlon Mack or whoever. So that's why he's so low for me.
Okay.
Luck comes back, he's jumping way up. He doesn't come back,
Definitely.
he's even dropping lower maybe.
All right, who do you have at number 10?
Number 10, I have Devontae Adams out of Green Bay. Him and Aaron Rodgers are teaming up. Once again, my only concern about Devontae Adams is they have Randall Cobb and Jimmy Graham, and that's about it out of the passing game. Yes, the running backs can pass catch, but I wish they would have kept Jordy Nelson to take a little more pressure off for Devontae Adams to get open. I'm going to double team Adams now more and not worry about so much about Cobb, who's always injured. He's a little older, a little slower, and Jimmy Graham can't stay healthy. So if any one of those two guys go down, Adams is not going to get doubled, if not triple teamed. Jordy Nelson's still there. He's going to be open. So I'm just a little hesitant about Adams because of the targets around him. Yes, he's going to get fed. He's a number one there. He would be my number one wide receiver, again, based on how I draft running back. He is a solid 2, though. If you went if you went Thomas and then Adams, that's a good combination. But if I went running back, if he's still there early 3rd, and I've seen it once or twice, then I would take him as my number 1.
Okay, but the thing is, that's a mismatch. They don't want to put a mismatch on Jimmy Graham because Jimmy Graham's a big guy. He can burst through the line because they're gonna put a smaller linebacker on him.
Yep.
And that's not gonna end well for them. Because they're not gonna be as athletic as Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Graham is really athletic for his size.
You're right.
That's gonna be a mismatch. So then they're gonna want to double team Graham with a corner and or a free safety and linebacker, an outside linebacker, and then they'll double team Adams. So, but they're going to be worrying about Graham. So I think that Adams will finish a little higher than 10.
Oh, excuse me.
Especially if T.Y. Hilton.
I think he will vault up higher by the end of the season, but for right now, preseason, I'm going to go put him at 10. I think he. Excuse me. I think he will finish higher above Tate. I think he'll probably even finish higher above Mike Evans. But for preseason, I'm just concerned about the rest of his receiving core around him. Who do you have at 10, bud?
Devontae Adams. As well.
Okay, sweet. We have the same thing. I think we hit him. Number 11.
Larry Fitzgerald, the old man from Arizona, yeah. He's gonna keep going strong. I don't see him fading for a while. I don't think he's gonna fade out. I think he's gonna retire on a high note, which won't be this year. I don't think. I think he'll sign one. I think he might be a free agent next year.
I think he's only signed a 1-year contract this year. Yeah.
Yeah. So
or option 2.
If he signs, if he signs with Arizona again after this year, then I think it's going to be a 2-3 year contract to end his career. I think he's running out of gas a little bit, but he's still really consistent.
He's very consistent. But his thing is he'll come and go with Sam Bradford and Josh.
That's the
Rosen.
thing. The quarterbacks are not as good with Carson Palmer retiring.
Yeah, I mean he does have some of the weaker quarterbacks now. I mean, if Bradford stays on the field, he'll feed him the ball. If Rosen comes in, he's a rookie. I'm not sure how well it's going to play out. I have him at 16. He would have been higher if he has a better quarterback. He is solid though. He's good for. Now he's good for 85 to 90 catches and at least 1,000 yards and probably
close to 10 touchdowns.
He's the main wide receiver out there. Him and David Johnson.
They gave John Brown to the Ravens.
Yeah, so that's Larry Fitzgerald. You can get him not pretty late, about 4th, 5th, 6th round if you want to start reaching that high. The 4th round, but he's a solid flex for right now. I don't think you're going to take him as your number 2, unless you go super heavy running back and you need to start filling in your wide receivers.
Yeah, definitely. Like what you said with Golden Tate and Adams, I think he'd be a number 2 if
based
you
on
went
the draft.
Yeah.
All right, so my number 11 is Adam Thielen, Minnesota Vikings wide receiver. I would again, based on my draft, I would take him as my number 1.
Yeah.
I have an article I wrote for AcrossTheFantasyPond.com. I can't plug that site enough. It's an awesome website, guys. Check it out. Adam Thielen versus Steph Diggs and who you should take in draft. I'm drafting Adam Thielen all day, every day over Steph Diggs. And read the article to explain a little bit more on why I want to do that. Adam Thielen, he's going to catch the deep. He's going to be that over the middle type of guy. He's good. He's going to be good for 8 to 10 catches every week. 150 yards or so, maybe 1 or 2 touchdowns. But he's a solid young player. He is consistent. He is healthy. I think him and Kirk Cousins are going to team up all season this year. I think I put him down for 100+ catches, 1,100 yards, and about 8-9 touchdowns.
Okay. That's yeah.
And you can get him roughly mid third round to mid fourth round, right around that area.
Yeah, I have him a little lower at 15, just because Kirk Cousins coming in. He's got to learn the playbook.
Yeah.
I mean, with Adam Thielen being there for like 3 years now, at least 3 years now.
Mm-hmm.
But at number 12, I have Doug Baldwin. I don't really. He's just. I have him a little high because he's the only target there. Mm-hmm. They lost Jimmy Graham.
Yep.
They're gonna be
Paul Richardson. They lost. I mean, they bring in Brandon Marshall and Tyler Lockett's still there, but you're right. He's the only target there.
Yeah, and he can catch in coverage. That's why I'm not really worried about them like double, triple teaming him. He can catch in coverage pretty good.
Yep. And as long as that injury doesn't affect him, he'll. As much as I really don't like him, and everyone knows if you listen to the podcast, I really don't like Doug Baldwin, but he will get the targets because he's the only one there. He easily could finish in top 12. I don't think he will this year. I think that injury is going to stay with him for a little bit longer. And they don't have an offensive line. But he could slip in there. He could slip in that top 12 and be that wide receiver 1. I'm drafting him as my 2.
Yeah, definitely.
Though people would draft him as his 1. I have seen people do that. I would take him as my 2, and if he falls, I'd take him as a flex, but I don't draft him anyways. But that's where I would draft him as a solid 2.
Yeah. Who would you rather have, T.Y. Hilton or Doug Baldwin?
Good question. Good question. And again, I'm going to put aside my I don't like Baldwin, so I'm going to throw that out. If Andrew Luck plays, I'm taking Hilton. If he doesn't play, I'll take Baldwin.
Yeah.
But that was really good. Yeah. Who would you rather have?
I'd say Hilton.
Yeah.
Even with Jacoby Brissett, because like I said, he's a total underrated player.
Oh wow.
And that's why I put him 3 spots ahead of Baldwin. Who do you have at 12?
12. I have Jarvis Landry, Cleveland Browns.
Okay. I have him lower than that. 16.
Okay.
Just because of the quarterback situation there.
Well, that's why I like him. I think this is going to be his best. This is going to be his best quarterback of his career. Yes, Ryan Tannehill threw him the ball the last couple of years in Miami, but I like Tyrod Taylor this year. I think Tyrod's going to be pretty close to quarterback 1. I think I have a water bet with Rao from Across the Fantasy Pond podcast. Wow. I think he could end up as number 1 quarterback. I think he could end up as a number 1 wide receiver, Jarvis Landry, that is. Yeah. I think he's the across-the-middle type wide receiver. Now that Josh Gordon may or may not even play this year again because he decided to go get some more help. I think the help, from what I understand, is to get him ready for football. Because from what I heard and read, nothing's happened to Gordon. He just wants to be ready to play. So Landry's going to come in. He's a solid number 1 there. He's a solid 2 for your team. A solid flex if he falls to you. And so yeah, I like Jarvis Landry this year. He's going to be for me over 100 catches, over 1,000 yards, and probably 7 to 9 touchdowns. Yeah. I think Gordon would take some of that away if he gets on the field because Gordon is the guy who flies down the field, catch those 80-yard bombs, and David Njoku as a tight end is going to take some touches away, and Duke Johnson out in the backfield. But I love Landry this year. If I can get him as my number 2, I would be happy with that.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, at 13,
and we're gonna stop at 13. It's kind of a weird number to stop at. Or do you want to stop at 12?
I'll stop at 12.
Stop at 12. Okay. We're running out of time. It's getting a little late. I will tell you. Give me 3 people on your list under 12 that you just quickly want to say maybe a word, a sentence or 2 about them. So
after 12.
After 12. Yep.
Okay, so I have Stefon Diggs. We didn't really talk about him too much. I think he's going to take a significant amount of catches and targets away from Thielen. That's why I have Thielen at 15 and Diggs at 17.
Diggs at 17? Okay. I have
Yeah.
Diggs at 18, so we're right around the same place.
Okay.
I just don't think I think a lot for me is his injuries. He was only missed 2 games last year, but show me this year. Show me this year, and I'll be all about Steph Diggs.
You really want people to show you this year.
Show me, and I will be on your team. All right, you said 18? No, I have him at 18. Would you have
Yeah,
him?
I have him at 17.
Okay. For me, a big name out there is Juju Smith-Schuster. I have him at 17. I think last year was a great start for his rookie season. He's off to a great start this year.
Should have won Rookie of the Year. By the
He
way.
easily could have.
No, I don't think he would.
He could have. He easily could have.
At least, well, obviously offensive, but I think
Yeah.
Kamara,
Yeah.
in the beginning of the year, Juju wasn't really blowing up as well as he was later in the year.
Mm-hmm.
But what I think about Juju this year, I have him at 21
Okay.
because I think he's really good in real life, but fantasy wise, he's like a really week 2 solid flex for
Yeah,
me.
he's definitely a solid flex. I mean, you'd have to go really heavy on running backs to put him at 2. He's a
Yeah.
solid flex this year, and you can easily. He's roughly going 7th, 8th, 9th round, unless you're really reaching for him in the 5th and 6th. I just like Juju this year. I think he's gonna cut into Brown a little bit, and he produces even without Big Ben there. Not to take the back. He produces even when Antonio Brown's not there. He took over that number 1 spot when Brown went down. So I like Juju there at 17. Another player I have who I'm really liking this year is Robert Woods. I have him at 27. I think even though he's the number 2 wide.
So do I actually.
Oh yeah, I think he's going to be the number 2 wide receiver in Los Angeles, but I think he's going to produce number 1 receiver numbers for the team. As in, Brandon Cooks is the number 1, but I think Woods will get more targets, more looks, more touchdowns than Brandon Woods. The only thing where I'm worried about is Cooper Kupp. But I have Robert Woods at 27.
Yeah.
All right, so
Okay.
pick
Where
one
do you-
more, and we'll wrap it up.
Michael Crabtree, I think he's going to get a big amount cut out of his targets because they have John Brown. They have Hayden Hurst. They have one other guy.
Willie Snead.
Willie Snead, yeah.
Mark Andrews,
They have
out in
Mark
Baltimore.
Andrews.
Yep,
They
Alex Collins out of the backfield. Yep.
He's not. That's why I have him down. Well, one of the reasons at 24.
24. I don't even have him ranked, so you must really like him.
Wow.
Yeah.
But he's like a flex bench for me.
Yeah, if I were to draft him, and I have done some mock drafts, and I have taken him, he is on my bench. He's that bye week filler for me. I think coming in as the number 1 in Baltimore, I think that's not going to be really well because it's Baltimore. I mean, he did pretty good in San Francisco. He did great in Oakland, but I don't even have him ranked. All right, so I think that's it for our wide receivers. We went 1 through 12, and we got some candy bar bets: Brown versus Beckham, and Hops versus Michael Thomas, and good debates tonight. Some of our receivers. It's just getting late, so we're getting tired. So you can find us on Twitter at Tyler Belowski, Tyler Belawske. Obviously, find us on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe and like. Any final thoughts, Eli?
One person I didn't get to. Well, 2 people I didn't get to say were Tyreek Hill and Demaryius Thomas. They were at 13-14.
Okay.
Just for you guys wanted to know.
I have Hill at 20. I have Hill at 26 and Thomas at 14. But we can discuss that later
Yeah.
because we got to go. All right. My final thought is wide receivers are very deep this year. So if you go heavy on the running backs, you can definitely make sure you can pick up some of those other ones. You could even, if you had to, put Diggs at 2, Juju at Diggs at 1, and Juju at 2. Then you could easily do that if you went heavy running backs. So that's going to do it for the show. I'm Tyler Belowski.
I'm Eli Belowski.
And this has been the Tyler and Eli Fantasy Football Tips Podcast. We tell it how it is.